Alan Chen from Neuroscience will talk about dopamine, your brain's best hearing aid.
Hi everyone, I'm a neuroscientist and I study the impact of dopamine on your brain. And dopamine is an incredibly important molecule to understand because it's involved in many diseases you may have run into, such as Parkinson's, schizophrenia, and depression. So it's really important to understand what's going on in these patients. It's been traditionally thought that dopamine is sort of your brain's pleasure molecule, but it turns out it's actually much more than that. What I discovered was that dopamine plays a direct role in your hearing or your sensory processing. It's kind of like your brain's hearing aid. Now, there's clinical evidence of this in the past, like in Parkinson's disease, where their dopamine levels are low, they tend to have hearing or sensory abnormalities. On the other hand, in schizophrenia patients, when their dopamine levels are high, they tend to go the other way and they have auditory hallucinations. So people have thought that dopamine is linked to hearing, but no one has had evidence in the past. So what's going on here? Well, new exciting neuroscience technologies give us sort of this superpower of being able to read and control the minds of at least mice. And so I utilize these and I used what's specifically called dopamine sensor technology, and I implanted this into a small region of the brain called the striatum. What this allowed me to do is record the dopamine levels in the striatum in real time. And what I found was that there was this tight link between the sounds the animal would hear and the dopamine levels in this region, such that if you have a flatline dopamine and then you clap, suddenly the dopamine levels will rise and fall down. And it's very repeatable. So if you clap, dopamine levels will rise and fall down. So I thought, interesting, cool that there's this relationship between sounds and dopamine, but is this dopamine actually important for the animal's hearing? So what I did is I shut off the dopamine in this small region, again, the striatum, and what I found was that these animals had hearing abnormalities such that they couldn't discriminate between high and low frequency sounds, suggesting it's really involved in the animal's hearing. Next, I realized that we give dopamine blockers in the clinic, and this inhibits dopamine using a drug. So I gave these also to the animals, and I found that there's an impairment in their hearing, suggesting there's a real role of dopamine for the hearing function. So what I hope you take away from this is that dopamine is much more than a pleasure molecule. It could actually help with your daily functions, such as hearing, sensory processing, and we're just now uncovering the roles of dopamine and what roles it might have in diseases such as Parkinson's, schizophrenia, and depression. And another thing I'd like you to take away from this is that these new neuroscience technologies really allow us to peer into the brains and understand what's going on. And hopefully these advances in our understanding will help us develop targeted treatments in the future. Thank you for your time.